This is not a fiction. There are questions to be answered, rarely asked by cowardly, mostly ignorant plebiscite, rarely capable of critical thinking. So let's question instead. Could NATO, a seemingly benevolent alliance, be a parasite in disguise? A leech latched onto nations, draining resources and spreading controversy? Cast your mind back to 1949, a world fresh from the horrors of World War II. The North Atlantic Treaty Organization, better known as NATO, emerged as a beacon of collective defense. Its primary mission was simple: to counter the looming Soviet threat during the Cold War. A united front, banded together to ward off any potential Soviet aggression. However, as the years have passed, NATO's role has evolved. The Cold War ended, the Soviet Union collapsed, but NATO persisted. It adapted, shifting its focus to new challenges such as terrorism, cyber threats, and regional conflicts. Yet, some critics argue this evolution has expanded NATO's mandate beyond its original purpose, leading to involvement in interventions deemed unnecessary or driven by ulterior motives. Take, for instance, the military interventions in Afghanistan, Iraq, Libya, and more recently, Syria. These actions, particularly those led by the United States, have sparked significant controversy. Accusations of warmongering have been thrown around, with critics suggesting these interventions were more about geopolitical interests than genuine concerns for peace and stability. Then there's the financial aspect. The United States contributes a significant portion of NATO's budget, leading to criticism of other member states benefiting disproportionately without adequately contributing financially or militarily. It's a complex issue of cost-sharing and burden that often stirs up controversy within the alliance. The debate gets even murkier when we delve into the ethical implications. How does one reconcile strategic interests with moral imperatives? Does an alliance with states perceived as engaging in aggressive or morally questionable actions compromise the moral integrity of others? These are the questions that critics grapple with, challenging the very nature of such alliances. Despite these concerns, there are those who staunchly defend NATO. They argue its continued existence is crucial for collective defense, deterrence against potential adversaries, and maintaining stability in Europe and beyond. They acknowledge its flaws but emphasize its role in promoting security and cooperation among member states. It's important to recognize that perspectives on NATO and its alliances vary widely. While some view it as a cornerstone of global security, others perceive it as a tool for advancing the interests of powerful nations at the expense of others. In light of these criticisms, calls for reevaluation and reform within NATO have grown louder. Burden sharing, the scope of NATO's mandate, and decision-making processes have all come under scrutiny, reflecting efforts to address concerns and adapt to changing geopolitical realities. In summary, the debate surrounding NATO, its perceived parasitic nature, and its alliances with states considered warmongers, is a labyrinth of geopolitical, ethical, and strategic considerations. It's a complex issue, one that requires careful analysis and an understanding of the diverse perspectives involved. It is indeed a story of evolution, controversy, and critical introspection. Indeed, any conversation about NATO would be incomplete without acknowledging the elephant in the room, the military-industrial complex. This intricate web of relationships between governments, the armed forces, and the industrial sector that supports them plays a significant role in NATO's continued existence. Weapons manufacturers and defense contractors often reap substantial profits from NATO's operations, leading some to argue that these financial incentives perpetuate conflict and justify the upkeep of alliances like NATO. This profit-driven facet undeniably adds another layer of complexity to the ongoing NATO debate. As we delve deeper into the intricacies of NATO, we find that for some countries, being part of this alliance presents a unique moral dilemma. Countries like Slovakia find themselves grappling with the controversy of being in an alliance where powerful members like the United States have not been held fully accountable for alleged war crimes. These ethical implications put smaller nations in a difficult position, as they are forced to balance the strategic benefits of a powerful alliance against their moral duty to demand justice. This presents a challenging dilemma for Slovakia and similar nations, caught between the rock of security alliances and the hard place of justice. The question remains, how can they navigate this complex moral landscape? Being part of NATO, countries like Slovakia find themselves in a precarious position. Their alliance with powerful nations, such as the United States, which have been accused of war crimes that have not been fully investigated, puts them in a morally ambiguous situation. This alliance indirectly implicates Slovakia and similar nations as accomplices in these alleged crimes, raising serious questions about their complicity and the ethical implications of their NATO membership. With every decision, these smaller nations must grapple with the heavy weight of their role in the alliance versus their commitment to justice and accountability. They are forced to walk a tightrope, balancing the strategic benefits of a powerful alliance against their moral duty to demand justice for alleged crimes. This is the complex moral landscape that Slovakia and similar nations must navigate as members of NATO. They are caught in a constant struggle, wrestling with the ethical dilemmas that their NATO membership presents. It's a precarious predicament, one that demands a delicate balance and careful consideration. In the face of such a moral conundrum, Slovakia is left with tough choices. The first option is to demand an independent investigation into the alleged war crimes committed by powerful NATO members. This would be a bold move, a clear stand for justice and accountability, but it could also strain relations within the alliance and potentially isolate Slovakia. The second option is to consider leaving the alliance altogether. It is possible to remain neutral yet be able to help, but not with warfare, in clean, pure humanitarian ways. This would distance Slovakia from any moral culpability, but could expose the country to potential security risks and leave it geopolitically isolated. It's a decision that requires careful consideration, a delicate balance between moral integrity and strategic advantage. It's a tough decision, one that will undoubtedly shape Slovakia's future role in global politics. Whatever path Slovakia chooses, it's clear that the country's position within NATO will continue to be a subject of intense scrutiny and debate.